Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mustang Blueprint podcast. My name is Paige Klopacki, and today I am joined with Dr. Ginocchio.
Hello.
All right, Dr. G, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do at SMSU? Just give the people something to know about you.
Sure. Well, I'm originally from Ohio. I taught in Northeast Indiana for 10 years. I did my doctoral work at Ball State University, and I've been out here at SMSU for 20 years now.
Wow.
Working here as the director of bands, professor of music, and head of the music program, and currently the chair of the Department of Fine Arts and Communication.
Wow. Goodness. So, you work with the band. I've seen you working with the pep band, all the concerts and stuff like that.
Everyone has seen me working with the band.
Oh, yes. The band is a crucial point in everyone's SMSU experiences. Have you always been a musical person? Have you always been in band, choir, the arts, anything like that?
I have always been attracted to music. Mm-hmm. I think it was my father. I mean, my father could not play a thing. He told me at one point that when he was young, he took piano lessons, but he was so tense, he couldn't play anything.
Oh, gosh.
But he loved to sing, and he loved to listen to music. So my dad would walk around the house, typical dad, singing all these corny songs and all that. But I just got used to being around someone who was willing to use their voice.
Yeah.
And he listened to a wide variety of music. He listened to folk music, he listened to jazz, he listened to classical. So I grew up in a house where I heard a lot of music, and I enjoyed singing when I was younger, and I still enjoy singing. So when I reached fifth grade and had a chance to join band, I was definitely going to do it.
Yeah.
So I jumped into it about as early as I could.
Awesome. So then you decided to go and be a teacher and be a professor of music. How did that happen? Did you think that was going to happen?
No. And in fact, for years I talked about being a doctor or a lawyer. And I actually remember the day that I told my mom that I wanted to be a music teacher.
Really?
It was toward the beginning of my junior year. We were driving in the car. My mom was doing 55 or 60 down a back highway, and I said, I think I want to go, I want to be a music teacher. And she yelled at me. She practically slammed on the brakes, and she yelled at me.
Oh my gosh.
I think she got so used to me talking about being a doctor or a lawyer, and then all of a sudden I popped that on her, and she did not react well. Later on, she came to appreciate it. She saw how happy I was in what I was doing, so she got over it. But that was I will never forget that reaction that she had. But that was about my junior year in high school, where I finally came to that realization. I had always enjoyed playing in the band. By that point, I was playing a lot of different instruments already, because I'm a trombone player. And for those of you who are not trombone or low brass players, the average music that you get in band is boring. So I got bored. So my sophomore year, the band director's like, we need a bassoon player. Well, yeah, I'll try that. Why not? And, I did that, and I learned other instruments to kind of keep my interest going. And when the summer before my junior year, I played in the All-Ohio State Fair Band, which was a 3-week gig. They housed us actually on the Ohio State Fairgrounds, the whole area. There was a dorm that we stayed in, and I had such a great time. And this group was 300 people, and there were a lot of them who were planning to go into music. And it was something I hadn't really thought about until I was hanging around with all these great musicians and realizing, I could do this. And that's really what got me going in that direction.
That's awesome. So how many instruments do you know how to play?
I stopped counting a while ago.
Oh,
I play a lot of them.
Wow.
And it's not just can you play it, or, I can get a sound out of just about anything. Can I make it actually create music is the question right there. But I'd say, I regularly play 7 or 8 instruments.
That's awesome.
As part of what I do here, playing with different bands and teaching and all that. So
that's so interesting. That's so cool. I did band for I think maybe 3 or 4 years, and I first started off with clarinet, and then my clarinet mouthpiece broke. So then I was like, well, now I have to switch over to something else. So we still had my brother's trumpet. So I'm like, I'm going to play the trumpet. I could not play G. I could not play G. It was so bad. My mom was like, maybe band's not for you. Yeah, maybe it's not. So then I went to choir.
I don't know if anyone told you this, but you can actually buy new mouthpieces for the clarinet.
Yeah, I was like 6th grade at the time. I'm like, I don't want to buy that. Like, this is a hand-me-down one. And I'm like, I don't care. I wasn't that good at clarinet either. Like 5th grade level clarinet playing was as good as I got. And I don't think I could do that. I could play hot cross buns.
Well,
that's about
there
it.
you go. There you go. Well, yeah, hey, you gave it a shot.
Yeah, exactly. I gave it my best shot. Okay, did you see yourself teaching at a college level? Because like you said you wanted to be a music teacher. Did you think that would end up at a university?
Around my junior year in college, I started seeing that. It certainly wasn't set in stone. There was a short period of time while I was teaching in the public schools that I briefly considered going into school administration. Thank heavens I did not do that. I would be miserable. But around my 8th year of teaching, I was starting to debate, I wasn't particularly happy where I was. I loved my students. It was great working with my students, but the area itself wasn't a good fit for me. The students who were not in band were not very supportive of the band students, and that bothered me as well. And I was reaching the point where I was starting to think about, I don't think I can stay in this school and continue doing this job for another 30 years.
Yeah.
And I know for sure now that I never would have made it. So I started thinking about, I could go back and get a principal's license and all that. And by this point, I already had my master's degree in trombone performance. And I looked into getting a principal's degree license, and I was going to need to take like 50 credits of coursework in order to get that. I'm like, well, for 60 credits, I can get a doctorate in music. So I'm just like, I'd much rather do that than deal with snot-nosed kids all the day. Yeah. But so yeah, that's when I really made the decision to go back to school and get my doctorate.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I always see you guys just playing, and you always just have so much joy and happiness. Do you think that was the right decision at this point now?
Most definitely. I talked about how my mother yelled at me when I told her I wanted to be a music teacher. Well, my wife yelled at me when I told her I wanted to go back to get my doctorate.
Oh, gosh.
And, but, again, within a year, within that first year of going back to get my doctorate, my wife saw that I was a much happier person and a much easier person to live with. And so, she got over it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And she really enjoys Marshall and all of that. So it was, we moved pretty far from family, but, we became very comfortable here in Marshall and of course, have a lot of friends and all that. So, but yeah, I love doing what I do, and I get to do a lot of playing. I'm constantly playing with one of our bands on something or another. So it's the best of both worlds. I love teaching students music. I love teaching students to play. I love teaching music students how to teach. But I also love to play and conduct, and I get to do all those things in this job.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you work with the pep band. So
Yes.
how is the pep band? Like, you guys are always at the football games, always at the basketball games. And like us on the cheer team, we love you guys being there. We always love to hear what your little comments are saying, like during the games. We're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they just said that.
Yeah, let's not put those on this podcast here. Some of them might be a little blue for this too.
But they're always a great time. It's so fun to have them there. It gives us a little bit of extra like pump up. Like, oh my gosh, someone else is also seeing this. We're also in the moment as well.
Yeah, it's collegiate athletic bands are so much fun. Because there's so much that you can do with them.
Yeah.
In your average high school, you go, the pep band plays before the game, and then you hear nothing from them until halftime, and they play a little bit, and so often then they just disappear. But in college, especially in the bands that I was involved with during my undergraduate work and the bands that I worked with when I was a graduate assistant at Ball State, we were constantly engaged in what was happening in the game. And I really view that as our role. There's a reason why they call it a home field advantage. And part of that with athletics is having the band there. Having the band there, trying to hype up the crowd, hype up your own crowd, hype up the team to keep things. And sometimes it's just about being just noisy enough to keep a basketball coach of an opposing team being able to talk to their team members during a timeout.
Yeah.
That's all part of the home field advantage. And so we take that very seriously. We want to be an active part of the game. In many ways, I see we're sort of the bull in the china shop. It's like, okay, timeout, we're going to play. And sometimes we'll just charge through something and it's just like, hey, John, there was supposed to be a reading here. I'm just like, oops, sorry, you didn't start fast enough. And, I do try not to step on people's toes, but at the same time, we're there to play.
Yeah.
And so we want to do that as much as we can. And so, a football season, we play in between plays.
Yeah.
We'll play 8 measures of a song. Okay, stop. All right, after this next play, we're going to play the next 8 measures. And, and so we very often, I always joke when we get to our fall concert, our Mustang Pep Band in concert, which is always in November, I always joke, well, here's your chance to actually hear us play an entire piece of music.
And not just 8 measures.
Not 8 measures at a time. And it's nice for us too. That's one of the nice things about basketball season. We tend to get to play longer chunks, but we don't get to play as often because the referees frown on us playing after a basket's been scored.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But,
Yes. Oh my goodness. So when it comes to getting the band ready for like the games and stuff, like what all goes into that?
Oh, wow. The pep band has to be ready, well, quote unquote, ready right away.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been years, fortunately, we haven't had one of these for a little while, but there was actually a year early on where we actually played for a game the Friday before classes started.
For football?
That only happened once that I can remember since I've been here, but it's not unusual where we're playing on the Saturday after the very first week of classes.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, well, time for your final exam. We're going to go out and play for people.
Yeah.
And so, getting the pep band ready is a little different process than getting other bands ready. With our other bands, our concert band, our jazz ensemble, we have a performance and it's in 2 months.
Yeah.
Or, okay, we're playing something at the end of September, but we still have 4 or 5 weeks to prepare. Pep band, it's like, you're here, welcome to SMSU, we're going to go play now.
Yeah.
And we're going to go play in front of 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And so with the pep band in particular, we learn very quickly, and a lot of it is with new students saying, okay, listen, we're going to rehearse these pieces this week and we're going to play them at the game. And those rehearsals are relatively short. It's basically a chance, here's how the song sounds. We've played through it once or twice. Do your best.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're also going to call up 5 or 6 other charts that you have never seen before in your life. And I want you to just jump in and play as much as you can play. And if you make a mistake, point at the person next to you and blame them. And, you know, it's one of those things you can't be too obsessed with being perfect.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's not what the audience is looking for anyway. The audience is looking for a group and a sound that's going to be fun, you know. And so if we make a mistake, and we do make mistakes, that's for sure, you know, we try to have a good attitude about it. And in many ways, since we can only play 8 measures at a time during football season, when we make a mistake, at least it doesn't last very long.
Yeah.
But, you know, pep band is something that it just gets better and better throughout the year, because the longer that we play the music, particularly for the newer students, they get used to, oh, this is how it sounds. Because one of my big pushes with that group is always about style.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of pep bands are just about playing loud. And, you know, that's fine for high school. But at a college level, I want you to sound good. You know, I want us to play this music as close to what it originally sounded like as we can, without guitars and, you know, bass players and all that. And so, you know, I really focus on that, but it takes time. And we've got about 60 pieces of music in our folder that we play, because when we get to basketball season and we're doing double headers, we don't want to call up, you know, Crazy Train 4 times over the course of the night.
Yeah.
You know, we want to have different stuff. And when we play on Friday and Saturday, we don't want to play, you know, there's going to be overlap, of course, but we don't want everyone to, it's like, oh, now they're going to pull up all the small things. Oops, now they're going to pull up Animal. You know, we don't want it to be predictable, and we don't want people to get tired of what we do. So we want to have plenty of music.
Yeah. So you have like 60 pieces of music? Like, oh goodness. How often do you add to that? Or like take things away?
We at the end of every year, in fact, we're in that process right now. Generally, at the end of every year, we'll pull out about 8 pieces of music, 8 to 10. And in the fall, we'll add another 8 to 10.
Wow.
And so there's always some new stuff
That's
in the
good.
folder. So I have students that, you know, that have been playing in the pep band for 4, 5, 6 years, depending on how long they're here. And it's great because they know a lot of the folder, and they help the new students learn. They can listen to the returning students and match them and so forth. But they also get new stuff, some new things every year. So it keeps it fresh. We're always, you know, adding some new stuff, and, you know, new songs come out all the time.
Yeah.
And some of them work great for pep band. A lot of them do not. But, you know, we try to take advantage of the ones that work well. And so just a couple weeks ago, I passed out a list to all the students in the pep band and said, okay, here's all the stuff that's in our folder this year. If it were up to you, which ones would you want to see disappear?
Yeah.
And I use their votes, and a lot of times if I get a number of people say, I think this one ought to go, well, then I'll pull it. Yeah. Unless it's one that I really love, and then it stays. But, you know, it's good to be the king. But, yeah, you know, and I also base it off of, what do we sound good on? You know, we have a small pep band. It's a small university where, of course, we're going to have a small pep band. And some arrangements work really well for smaller groups, and some, they sound great when you listen to the recording, and then you try to play them and you realize this doesn't really work for us.
Yeah.
And, you know, that happens from time to time.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's like what makes our band so cool, is because they are so small, but like they're small but mighty.
Yeah.
Like you guys have some really good songs. Like, what song is it? Oh, I know a song. Thriller. The first time you guys played that during basketball, I got so scared. I'm like, who's screaming? What are we doing? What's going on? I think I was in the corner, like taking a drink of my water, because it was that one chance we had some water. And then I just hear some screaming. And I'm like, what is going on? That one definitely wakes up the crowd.
Yes, and they ask for that. The girls that do the screaming part, they can we start at this point so that we can actually get to it? I did that once, you know.
Yes.
But Yeah, you know, it's a song. I mean, that song's been around since 1984, so
Yeah.
it's older than most of the, you know, well, older than almost every student on campus. Not all of them, of course, but it's one that everybody knows.
Everybody
and
knows
it
Thriller.
fits so well, you
Yeah.
know. And we've actually done it at a few different times. Sometimes it's in the folder, sometimes it isn't. It doesn't work for every group.
Yeah.
But it works really well for us. At least this year, it worked really well for
Yeah.
us. So
It went really good. So we both kind of work on the game day environments. I'm on
Yes.
the field doing the cheer team. You're in the band and with the stands. How would you describe like our kind of like involvement for the games? Because I know we do a lot together, whether a lot of the people watching the audience, watching it in person on the game, like over like the broadcast, like they don't know how much we do like together. Do you want to touch on like what we do together?
Well, you know, the cheer squad is another really important part of the game day environment.
Thank you.
You know, it's the one of the great things is that the cheer team can make noise when we can't.
Yes.
You know, so you can be running cheers during, you know, while the basketball team is playing, where the referees, you know, give the team a foul when we start playing and and things are going on. You know, so I really see us kind of filling two roles within the game. And so you know, it's always great to have the cheer team there, you know, doing the cheers, dancing, you know, interacting with Stanger and all that. That's a little harder for us to do, you know, but, you know, I always I enjoy the trade-off that we get out of that. And it's something that I really would like to continue working with there. Because, you know, it's a really fun dynamic, especially during basketball season, I think, because the venue is so much smaller.
And you guys are just right behind us.
Right. And we're also interacting with the people at the board and the table, and it's just, nope, we've got a reader here. And, you know, and so it's this constantly moving jigsaw puzzle. You know, it's like putting a jigsaw puzzle on a lazy Susan and spinning it and saying, okay, now, you know. So, I mean, it's always a lot of fun. And of course, I mean, we were talking before this, you know, the cheer squad often has eyes that I can't have, especially when I'm playing, and I'm always playing.
Yeah.
And so like this fall, you know, we were just joking, and this fall, you know, it's just like, okay, we're going to play after this play. And it just so happened that the play ended, and I always look at the field, and I saw players moving, and I'm like, okay, here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. And we start playing. And then you guys are like, hey, you know, it's just like, what's going on? And we're like 2/3 of the way through the song, and I'm thinking, man, somebody must have called timeout, because normally we would be stopping by now. And then I finally see you guys waving your hands out. I look out on the field, and an opposing player's laying on the ground. And I'm just like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
You know, I really try not to play when somebody's hurt. That was completely unintentional, but, you know, it just so happened at the end of that play, all the football players moved that direction, and it hid the person on the ground. And after that, you know, I'm just like, you know, keep yelling at me when that happens. And I told the band, too, I'm like, listen, I can't always catch everything. So feel free to yell at me or just stop playing.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like,
I'll get the hint eventually.
That guy did, you know. I see bones sticking out of that guy's leg. It's not a good thing. Please stop playing. Another one bites the dust, or something like that. You know.
Goodness, yeah. Oh my goodness. We have so much fun on those game days. So, okay, since you lead the band, how has that kind of like shaped your leadership and like obviously teaching and all that stuff? Did you ever see yourself as a leader?
Yes. You know, it's there's an important distinction that I think is necessary to outline here, and that is that there's a difference between a title, having a title, and being a leader.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who have titles who are not good leaders. I'm not going to name any names, but you know, there are a lot of people out there who have authority, who are in charge, but yet don't understand what real leadership is. Leadership is service. I'm a firm believer in that. And music, just what we do in music, I think reinforces that. A leader in a group, sure, it might be the front man of a band or the conductor, but it also could be the second trumpet player who is always listening and always adjusting how they play to fit what else is going on in the music. And so, in my view, leadership isn't being in charge. Leaders are the people within a group that help collaborate, that work with others in their group, whether verbally or non-verbally or musically or athletically. There are a lot of leaders out there on that basketball floor. And it may not be the team captain. It's the people that work together to make things happen. To me, that's what leadership really is. So yes, I'm a teacher, and yes, I'm a conductor, so I'm up in front of the group, and I have a job to teach. But that job doesn't necessarily make me a leader.
Yeah.
Hopefully what I do as a teacher and as a conductor and as a performer, hopefully that models good leadership for my students.
Yeah.
And I try to create opportunities for those students to take leadership as well and to be that role model. But, that's how I see leadership.
Yeah.
And so, I try to share that with our students, and there are times I don't succeed at it. I'll be the first to say that, but I try my best, of course. And it's something that, leadership is something that you grow into, and it changes. The way you think of it changes as you grow older and get more experiences too. So,
yeah. All right. Well, I got one more question for you. Okay. So obviously the pep band season is now over, right? Football and basketball season. Is there a certain type of thing that you want to come out of this pep band, or even just the bands in general? What do you want to see from them coming next?
Well, what I want to see come next is I want, with the pep band, I want all those people to come back in the fall, and I want them to bring 5 or 6 friends with them.
Yes.
That's what I want, but, really with the pep band, it's just, we want to keep the energy going, but with the bands in general, what I'm really looking to is for people to continue to play and enjoy making music. I spend a lot of time going out to high schools and working with students and clinicking bands and all that. And one of the messages that I always share is that music is something that you can do and enjoy your entire life. And that's what I want for everybody. That's what I want for all my students here on this campus. I want them to walk away, I want them to graduate, yes, someday. Not too soon, because I want you to play in the band as long as possible. But I want them to graduate. I want them to go out and have a great life and to have wonderful families and a wonderful career. But I want them to remember that music is something that they can always do. There's always a chance to play or sing somewhere, whether that's in your church choir, your community band, or just 3 or 4 people that you randomly find out play instruments, and you just say, hey, let's get together and play some quartets or something like that. I always enjoy seeing older people continuing to play. And actually, our concert band here on campus, the SMSU Community Concert Band, was actually designed with that in mind.
Really?
It's open not only to any student on the SMSU campus, it's also open to community members. So I've had 7th graders playing in that group. My son, when he was in 7th grade, was playing
That's
with that
awesome.
band. And at the exact same time, We had people who are 10, 15 years into retirement.
Oh my goodness.
Who are playing in that band as well. And that intergenerational music making is really valuable, I think, for our SMSU students to see that model of these people. You know, this person's a nurse, this person's a teacher, this person owns a business downtown, this person is a biology professor. You know, Vaughn Gailey, who retired last year, played in our band for years. Yeah. And, you know, it's great for our students to get to see that you can keep doing this as long as possible. I love to tell my music students that one of the most inspiring musical experiences that I ever had was when I was an undergrad at Indiana University, and I was there over the summer, and the summer orchestra was playing a concert, and the concertmaster for the summer orchestra was a gentleman named Joseph Gingold. Now, Joseph Gingold was, at that time, 85 years old and was still the head violin professor at Indiana University. He had played with the NBC Orchestra under Arturo Toscanini. He was one of the best violinists in the entire world and one of the most friendly guys I have ever met in my whole life. And they were playing this really challenging piece. And I'm watching the violin section, and they're just like, you know, spazzing, you know, looking like they're having some kind of seizure as they're playing this. And Joseph is sitting in that front seat and just like, looking like he, you know, he's planning out what he's going to do that weekend or something.
Oh my gosh.
And he just made it look so easy.
Yeah.
And this is an 85-year-old guy, and he had hands that were twice as big as mine. I mean, twice as fat as mine. I'm like, how do you, I can't play a guitar without hitting 3 strings at once. How do you do that? And so it was just so great to see. And I always hope that my students and the students that I work with when I'm clinicking will keep playing for as long as possible. You know, what do I want? I want 85-year-old trumpet players out there still going.
That's
as
awesome.
long as they can. That's what I really want.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. Thank
you for inviting me.
So much fun. I had a blast talking with you.
Great.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
What are the biggest ways that you have grown, maybe physically, mentally, through sports?
This is a big thing for track. I mean, you know, you want to go to every meet. You want to go to a meet and you want to PR every single time. And you want to do really good every single time. And just learning that, like, you know, a bad meet is better than, you know, not competing at all. And that's just something that I've had to remind myself of